know everything about the sea and the winds and the stars, the sun, and particularly the moon, I learned from my grandmother who was from Puna. She knew every night of the moon. She taught us what night of the moon, what morning of the moon to go fishing along a coast like this. She taught us to learn about the waves. And all of this knowledge she carried around in her head like a book. We've tried to employ her appreciation of things in our own lives. This carrying around of the whole world, the whole universal sense of time, cosmic time, the moon calendar. If we had half, I would say the reverence for all of this that she had, the world would be such a lovely place to live in.
Deep within the turning darkness of the black night, silence surrounds the frontier of time. Standing at the edge is fear, pierced by the light of knowledge, and the unknown is forgotten. Our ancient pioneers gazed upon the sparkling brilliance of the night sky and determined recurring rhythms, predictable, measurable, capable of being known.
Mai kaiki mai ka hanau na mua mai kaiki mā mauloa kaiki moe. E ai mai e inu I ka wai ola. Hu ke aloha no ke kulai via pa ana makana po mai ka iyo na kupuna I hala. E ai mai e inu I ka wai ola. Po ai ka poli hulu maku ai ke kai havana ke kai olu o eva e ai mai e inu I ka wai ola. O ai alua kupo ki he ki ilo I kalo e hui me tua ini o gaua golo au e ai mai e inu I ka wai ola. Ku mai ka ala. Ho amo hala na lehua hulu mamo ki e Hawai'i. E ai mai e inu I ka wai ola.
Ano ae na matamata o Hawai'i nei mai tapu uai o te herirani ai ki aku I tarai o te awe. O wau o hurumamu. He kama o hina. This is the story of the Hawaiian moon and the ancient calendar of our kupuna. The ancestors used a calendar that was based on the cycles of the turning moon, each night showing a different phase of the moon's reflections from the light of the sun, gradually increasing in brightness as it travels across the sky. Mahina becomes a fully luminous sphere in the night sky at the midpoint, before declining again into the darkness from whence she came. There are 30 nights to the 29.5-day cycle of the Hawaiian moon. Each night has a name, a function, a rhythm. Each day follows the name of the Mahina night.
Hila hoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau. Ole kukahi, ole kulua, ole kukolu, ole kau. Ea, una mohalu, hua, oku mare arani. Kulu, la au kukahi, la au kulua, la au kau. Ea, ole kukahi, ole kulua, ole pau. Kaloa kukahi, kaloa kulua, kaloa pau. Kanelo no mauri muku
The moon will rise and set according to the rhythm of the night cycle. This rhythm had monthly, seasonal, and yearly fluctuations, but generally following the rhythm of the night. The monthly cycle is divided into 3 Anahulu, a period similar to a week, but 10 days in length. Each Anahulu reflects a special character and honor in the moon's dance across the sky. The first Anahulu is Ho'onui, a period of increasing, when the moon begins to shine again. The second Anahulu is Poipoi, the period of rounding. This is the waxing moon, when she becomes a sphere in the sky. In the beginning of this period, Mahina increases, and in the ending of the Anahulu, she is fading. It is during Poipoi Mahina shines brightest upon the earth, a comforting image in the night sky. The third Anahulu is Emi, a period of shrinking, as Mahina begins to decline, becoming darker each night as she returns to the darkness. The first night of the year always began with the first night of the moon, the night called Hilo.
Hilo, kapo ekahi.
Hilo is a twist. Mahina is just beginning to show the strand of twisted silver hair of Hina.
This is a good day for fishing and planting.
Ho'aka is the second Mahina night.
Ho'aka, kapo elua.
The moon is now appearing and seen low in the sunset.
The night of shadows, the night of ghosts, scaring the fish away.
Mahina is still traveling with the sun in the daylight, but is now reaching back into the night, reclaiming her nightly dominance. Kukahi is the third night.
Ku kahi, kapo ekolu.
This po is named for Ku, one of the Kiniakua of Hawai'i. Ku, Kane, Lono, and Kanaloa were known as the Sacred Four.
The kupuna observed religious rituals that were in accordance with the phases of the moon. During the pule, the period of prayer, some days were kapu, forbidden to fishing or farming. The first kapu period of the month was in honor of the akua Ku, the Ku taboo. It began with the first night of Hilo and ended on the morning of Ku'ulua. Ritual ceremonies were held during this period.
Ku'ulua is the fourth Hawaiian night and the second night of Ku.
Ku'ulua, kapo eha.
Ku of the boar tusk, the cusp of the moon.
Ku is also represented by the cardinal direction of east, where the sun and moon start their climb across the sky, just as Hina marks the cardinal direction of west, where they both lie down to sleep.
It is in the west that the sun ends the day and the moon ends night, as they both rejoin the cosmic night womb to be reborn each day.
Ku, the akua of agriculture and fishing, of house building and canoe carving. Ku ulauka, ku ulakai, ku kailimoku, ku nui akea.
E ia ke kama o Hina, he makana o lau na hanauni. Ho I mai ta puna wainani, e haliu mai talani, kalama ku o kana au. E ho o mau I ke kumu pono. E ai mai e inu I tawai ora. Ku Kolu is the fifth night.
Ku kolu, kapo elima.
Fishing is abundant, especially during Kau, the dry season. Women gather limu, crab, and vana. It is not a good time for planting. Ku Pau is the sixth night.
Ku pau, kapo eona.
This is the last of the 4 days of Ku.
It is a fair day for fishing and a good day for planting uala.
Ole Ku Kahi is the 7th night and the first negative night.
Hilohoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi.
Ole ku kahi, kapo e hiku.
It is the terminator of the moon, the first quarter.
Not a good time for planting or fishing, except for the seasonal runs. In the month of Hina Ia Ele Ele, the corals of the sea will spawn.
Ole Ku Lua is the 8th night and the second negative night of Ku.
Hilohoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi ole kulua.
Ole kulua, kapo e walu.
Mahina is rising nearly at Avakea, midday, and setting at midnight.
Good torching inshore, but poor seas for fishing.
The ancient ones were intensive astronomers. They studied the sky for the patterns and rhythms of not only Mahina, but also the planets, the sun, and the stars. On all the islands of Hawai'i, heiau were used as observatories for charting celestial movements.
On the island of Oahu, one such place was Kualoa, as part of the Kaneohe living system, which included all the lands up to Mokapu. Kualoa was a spiritual center for kahuna, keepers of knowledge in the arts and sciences. Since it is on the east side of the island, it was ideal for watching the rising of the moon, the sun, and the stars.
In the middle of Oahu, between the two great mountain ranges of Ko'olau and Waianae, resides Ku Kaniloko Heiau. Commanding the Kunia Plateau, it is a most sacred place of Oahu Island. The birthplace of kings and queens, it was a significant observatory of its time. The peaks of the Ko'olau were used to mark the rising stars in the east, and the Waianae were used to follow their descent into the west, all while the whole of the night sky danced above.
Ole Ku Kolu is the 9th night.
Ole ku kolu, kapo e iwa.
Hilohoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi ole kulua ole kukolu.
Good torch fishing, but a poor night for planting.
Hilohoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi ole kulua ole kukolu ole pau. Ea ea la.
Ole pau, kapo umi.
Ole Po is the 10th night, the last night of negative, and the end of the first Anahulu, 1/3 month.
A good night for planting ulu, not good fishing.
Hilohoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi ole kulua ole kukolu ole pau. Ea ea la. Ea ea la.
Aia I ke puhi ka ohana, o ke kai olu, o ka lehua mama, o ke kia I kalo, a o ka iwa. Pū ana ka haina e ho'oku kaulani I hei kapu, nā piko o ke kumu ola. E ai mai e inu I ka wai ola.
Po is the Hawaiian word for night. Mahina is the moon. Ao is the day. La is the sun. And Akua is the spiritual essence. The day is of the male essence, and so is La. Night is of the female essence, and so is Mahina. The sky itself is male, and the earth is female, guarded by Wakia, Sky Father, and Papa, Earth Mother. And so the day is watched by Kane, the Akua of sunlight and creation, and the night is embraced by Hina, the Akua of the night. Time between day and night is shared by male and female essence, two parts of the same whole, as is primary to Hawaiian beliefs.
Poi Poi, the second Anahulu.
The first night of the second Anahulu is called Huna.
Huna, kapo umikumakahi.
Huna.
This is a good night for planting ipu and uala, and a good night for fishing. Turtles come ashore in the month of Kaelo.
Mohalu is the 12th night.
Mohalu, kapo umikumalua.
Huna Mohalu.
This is not a good night for fishing, but it is excellent for planting anything except trees. Hua, the second pule period, begins on this day. The men assemble again for ceremonies.
Hua is the 13th night.
Hua, kapo umikumakolu.
Huna Mohalu. Hua.
Fishing is especially good, and opelu are running in the month of Kaelo.
Akua is the 14th night.
Akua, kapo umikumaha. This is a good night for fishing and a strong night for planting uala, kalo, ipu, and mai'a.
The moon embodies the essence of mother. She has become Hina Hana Yakamalama, the Akua of the night.
In another 14 nights, on the 28th night, the moon will become Lono, the Akua of agriculture, fertility, peace, and the makahiki.
Hoku is the next night, the star, the full moon.
Hoku, kapo umikumalima. It is still a good time for fishing and for planting uala and kalo.
Hoku is the phase when the moon is bearing directly east and opposite the sun.
Hilohoa ka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau. Ole kukahi, ole kulua, ole kukolu, ole pau. Ea, ea la. Huna Mohalu. Hua, akua, hoku.
The 15th night is mid-month, and the opposite reflection of Muku, the new moon.
When the sun sets in the west, the Hoku moon is just rising in the east. Mahina is strong and spreading wide over the earth throughout the whole night, bathing the land and oceans with her energy.
Aia I pu'unana na lehua, mai luna mai o ka hoku wana au. Malama mai ka malia o mo'ohela ia. E maliu mai oi, apono kaua. Malama ka aina, he ola o hana. E ai mai e inu I tawai ola.
The Hawaiian clock begins at night, at the midpoint, and ends at night, returning to that same start point. Mahealani is the 16th night.
Mahealani, kapo umi kumaono.
This night sometimes appears as the full moon.
Fishing is excellent on this night, and mai'a, kalo, ipu, and uhi are planted.
Huna mohalu, hua akua, hoku mahearani.
Kulu is the 17th night.
Kulu, kapo umi kumahiku. This is a good night for deep sea fishing and an excellent time to plant uala and mai'a.
Huna mohalu, hua akua, hoku mahearani. Kulu.
This is the night when the rounding phase moves toward the decreasing moon. The teardrop name of Kulu refers to this change, as the darkness of the moon is beginning to grow. Mahina has passed midpoint in her dance in the sky. From this night, Hina is starting her journey back to the cosmic night, from which we know she will return refreshed and vibrant. La'au Kahi is the 18th night.
La'au kahi, kapo umi kumawalu.
Huna mohalu, hua akua, hoku mahearani. Kulu. La'au kahi.
There are 3 La'au nights that are generally referred to as good nights for planting.
Fishing is fair, but the sea is sometimes rough. Plant mai'a, but not uala.
La'au Kulua is the 19th night, the second night of La'au.
La'au kulua, kapo umi kumaiva.
Huna mohalu, hua akua, hoku mahearani. Kulu. La'au kahi, la'au kulua.
Fair fishing and rough seas, but a good night for cultivating.
La'au Po is the 20th night.
La'au pau, kapo iwa kalua.
Huna mohalu, hua akua, hoku mahearani. Kulu. La'au kahi, la'au kulua, la'au pau. Ea, eara, ea, eara.
This is the end of the second Anahulu. 2/3 of the month has passed. The period of growth and the period of shining have passed. Now it is time for the fading, the return to the night.
No hona hulu mamo I ka malie, he opu'u I ke au kanaka. Ka hiko I ke ala o kahu ola. Lohe ia ka ula leo. Ai ka makana ola hanau he hanau na hou. Ai e inu I tawai ola.
Mahina dances gracefully across the sky, gently caressing the oceans. Kai nui, kai malo'o.
Like all things in life, there is a birth, a growth, a prominence, and a fading. Mahina begins her final dance for this cycle. The final 10-day Anahulu is Emi, the ano of shrinking between Ole Kukahi and ending on Muku, the period of waning. It starts with the 21st night of Mahina, Ole Kukahi.
Ole kukahi, ka po iwa kalu kumakahi. This negative phase was not a good time for fishing. It was a time to cultivate and irrigate plants.
Ole Kulua is the 22nd night.
Ole kulua, ka po iwa kalua kumalua.
This was the second negative night of the second negative period of the month.
Mahina is rising nearly at midnight and dances through the early morning sky.
Ole Po is the 23rd night.
Ole pau, ka po iwa kalua kumakolu. Not good for fishing, high winds, rough seas. Kanaloa kapu.
It is the first night of the Kanaloa Pule period, the Kanaloa taboo.
The 24th night is Kaloa Kukahi, the first night of Kanaloa.
Kaloa kukahi, ka po iwa kalua kumaha.
Kaloa is a shortened form for the name of Kanaloa, the akua of the ocean.
Good offshore fishing, especially shellfish. Plant mai'a and ko.
Kanaloa is the ancient akua, prominent in the era of the great sea voyages of Polynesia. Kanaloa, ke akua o ka moana kahiko.
Kaloa Kulua is the 25th night and the second night of Kanaloa.
Kaloa kulua, ka po iwa kalua kumalima. Good reef fishing, but bad weather at sea. A good time for planting anything except mai'a and uala.
Kaloa Po is the 26th night and the end of the Kanaloa nights.
Kaloa pau, ka po iwa kalua kumaona. A good night for torch fishing on reefs. Limu and shellfish are plentiful. A time to plant ohe and ko.
Kanaloa, ke akua o ka moana kahiko.
The 27th Hawaiian night is Kane, akua of sunlight and creation.
Kane, ka po iwa kalua kumahiku. This is a good day for fishing and planting. Kane kapu.
Kane. This is the final pule period of the month. In Ho'onui, the pule was the ku tabu. In Poipoi, the pule was the hua tabu. In Emi, the two pule are Kanaloa and Kane.
The 28th Hawaiian night is Lono, akua of the sacred four.
Lono, ka po iwa kalua kumawalu. Fishing is excellent and planting of uala is recommended.
The kahuna of the Temple of Lono were entrusted with the task of tracking the moon and sun calendars. Among other duties, they were the astronomers of Hawaii, responsible for the accuracy of the Hawaiian calendar. Each year, the makahiki depended on their accurate observations.
The 29th Hawaiian night is Mauli, the spirit.
Mauli, kapo iwa kālua kumaiwa. This is a good night for fishing and planting trees. The tides are low, the kane kapu is ended.
Muku is the last night of the Hawaiian moon, the new moon.
Muku, kapo kanakulu.
The dark moon, when no light can be seen reflected from the sun. Muku, when the moon has rejoined the sun in the darkness.
A good night for fishing. Plant mai'a, but not kalo or uala. This ends the cycle of the Hawaiian moon.
This is the last day of the third Anahulu, the last day of the 30-day month, the ending of the cycle of the lunar count.
The yearly calendar followed 8 of these lunar months, the Pule months. Then followed the 4 months of the Makahiki season, encompassing the rising of Makali'i, the winter solstice, and the return of the sun's drift.
The solar count was confirmed, the lunar count united with it, and the calendar was renewed. But that's another story, for our story of Hina has reached the end. This is the first cycle of time, the compass of life that defines east and west, north and south, a beginning and the end.
Mahina plunges now into the life-giving waters of Kane, to be restored, regenerated with life, to be born again and return to her dance across the darkness.
Hila hoaka kukahi kulua kukolu kupau ole kukahi ole kulua ole kukolu ole kau ea huna mohalu hua hoku mahearani kulu la au kukahi la au kulua la au kau ea ole kukahi ole kulua ole pau kaloa kukahi kaloa kulua kaloa pau kanelo no mauli muku
Hina, the night sky awaits your returning glow. We await your circle of time. From within the bosom of your pulsing heart, cast down your gentle glow over the children of the earth, sea, and sky.
Naga ina e o ku ka ulen na piko ke gu e ai mai e inu i tai ai bu na le mai luna mai o ga ho na mai tamali o hai e mali mai oi apa no oi apa no ga malamat aina e ola ohana e ai mai e inu i tawai no na hulu mamoi tamali e o ui ke au kanaga ka hiko i ke ala o ka hua rohe ia da ula leo ai ia ka makana ola hanau he hanau na ho